Why is a whole political party chairman weeping like a baby?
Yo, because said the one we never president, me that Ghana need no. Ghana for Musorio, Ghana for Musorio, and before you know Musorio, and before you know Musorio, and your Munti, and Mahama MC, this vice president. Me, my dog to Suda. Me, my DCO da. Me, my minister da. Hey, chairman in the media. And I want to be campaigning, mammy. I'm a campaigning, mammy party. And I'm here, Juma. 2013, we are started the boom, Juma. Bubaye, Matopim, Juma, Macau Pa, Mididia was one. Me, Macau to Club, Mididia was one. So the Chiam must go physical by a thing.
That is the question echoing through the streets of Kumasi, rippling across social media and reverberating through Parliament's marble halls. Once a roaring lion, Chairman Wontumi, known for his flamboyant rhetoric, gold-studded bravado, and unrelenting allegiance to the new patriotic party, NPP, now finds himself whimpering like a lamb backed into a corner. For years, he mocked the opposition, ridiculed John Mahama, and taunted critics as if politics was a wrestling arena. But now the man who used to belittle others stands in courtrooms trying to explain himself, shielding his face from cameras he once welcomed. The mighty have fallen, and they have fallen hard. Ghana AI News is not here to gloat over another man's tears, but to reveal the anatomy of a political collapse. It is to examine how power, when abused, curdles into fear. It is to ask why Chairman Wontumi, the once dominant Ashanti regional chairman of the NPP, who boasted he would show Mahama where power lies, is now the one seeking mercy. How did we get here? What chains pulled him from the mountaintop to the courtroom? What secrets does this fall unearth about Ghana's political system? And why does it matter for our children's future?
That's right. When your friend go, show boy.
On the 21st of May 2025, Chairman Wontumi was officially invited by the Ghana CID to assist with an investigation. One that, according to internal sources, had been quietly brewing for months. It was not a summons to punish. It was an invitation to clarify, to assist. But instead of walking in with the composure of a public servant, Wontumi chose a familiar political maneuver: avoidance. He claimed illness. Ghana has seen this tactic before. When accountability comes knocking, the strong suddenly become sick. A man who once strutted in the media with gold bars and grandiosity was now too frail to speak to law enforcement. For 5 days, the nation watched in suspense. And then, just like that, on the 26th of May, he appeared at the police station. What transpired in those 5 days? Whispers of political negotiation, spiritual consultations, and legal maneuverings circled like vultures. But one thing was clear: he didn't return a lion. He came in shaking, voice lowered, eyes dimmed. It was a portrait of a man beginning to grasp that the immunity of political power was starting to expire. The CID was not playing politics. It had evidence, testimonies, and the legal backing to proceed. A search warrant was issued. What was supposed to be a quiet examination of Wontumi's residence became a national spectacle. He resisted, but resistance did not stop the CID, BNI, and even agents with links to international watchdogs like the FBI. The magnitude of the operation suggested that this was no minor case. When the search commenced, they found more than expected. Government vehicles stashed in private corners, documents hinting at financial misappropriations, and traces of deeper rot that could not be cleaned with mere press conferences. The very walls that once echoed with his laughter now witnessed his collapse. His cries were not born from surprise. They came from fear. The foundation was shaking. What he once dismissed as noise from the NDC was now crashing down in waves of undeniable truth. The same Mahama he once mocked had become a mirror, silently reflecting Wontumi's own sins. And yet, Wontumi shouted, "Political persecution." But the question remains, if this was truly persecution, why are other NPP leaders walking freely? Why is he alone caught in this web? The answer lies not in politics, but in patterns. Chairman Wontumi's name became embroiled in the murky waters of Akonta mining, a firm synonymous with illegal operations. Galamsey, that haunting word, the same activity that has bled our rivers dry, poisoned our forests, and haunted the dreams of Ghanaian farmers. A man in public service tied to such devastation. The saddest part of Chairman Wontumi's downfall is not just the crying, the sudden sickness, or the desperate search for political protection. It is the insult to the conscience of the Ghanaian people that began long before his arrest. It began when the nation raised questions about Akonta mining and its illegal operations in Ghana's forest reserves. Questions met not with transparency or accountability, but with lies, denials, and an unholy shield of political power. In September 2022, widespread allegations surfaced that Akonta mining, directly linked to Chairman Wontumi, was actively mining in the Tano Nimiri Forest Reserve in the western region of Ghana, an area strictly protected by environmental laws. Satellite imagery, community outcry, and investigations by independent journalists all pointed to a disturbing truth. Trees were being felled, rivers polluted, and lands desecrated by a company that had no legal right to be there. Chairman Wontumi came out publicly to deny the allegations. With boldness and arrogance, he faced the media and claimed Akonta mining had all the proper documentation and was not operating illegally. But the Ghanaian public wasn't convinced. What shocked the nation even more was what followed. On the 5th of October 2022, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, then the sitting president of the Republic of Ghana, stood on a public platform in Kumasi and defended Akonta mining, saying the company was not engaged in any illegal mining in any forest reserve in the country. His words were clear, and they sent a dangerous signal across the country. Corruption had found cover under the umbrella of political protection. Why would a sitting president defend such a controversial company at the center of environmental destruction? The answer is both painful and revealing. Chairman Wontumi was not just a regional chairman, he was one of the NPP's biggest financiers. His mining profits, legal or illegal, fueled campaign operations, financed political rallies, and filled party coffers with millions. He was untouchable, not because he was innocent, but because he was useful. And in the grand game of political survival, usefulness often silences justice. This is the tragedy of the NPP's time in power. Corruption was not just tolerated, it was engineered into the party's power structure. From party youth being handed excavators to ministers defending questionable mining permits, the NPP built a culture where loyalty to the party outweighed loyalty to the nation. Illegal mining became a political economy, a machine that crushed forests to produce votes. President Akufo-Addo, who came to power on the promise of fighting Galamsey and protecting Ghana's water bodies, ended up being the very shield behind which Galamsey thrived. His defense of Akonta mining was not just a betrayal of policy, it was a betrayal of the future of Ghana's children, who will grow up drinking dirty water and farming poisoned land. Today, the NPP is no longer in power. The political cover has vanished. Wontumi now cries not because he is innocent, but because the hand that once defended him has let go. The CID had more than suspicions. They had reasons. this was not just an environmental issue. It was a betrayal of public trust, a betrayal of the land. His defense? That he had a mining license. But a license does not permit destruction. It does not authorize ecological murder. It certainly does not excuse the disappearance of maize farm funds. Yes, Exim Bank. That quiet scandal that exploded once the auditors began asking questions. Wontumi had received 10 million Ghana cedis for a maize farming project, a venture supposed to uplift Ghana's food system. But where is the maize? Where are the farms? What the bank found instead was a ghost trail, money that vanished, assets unaccounted for. This wasn't just financial misconduct, it was economic sabotage. In a nation where farmers toil under sun and sweat, a political figure diverted their future into luxury. And now, when the bank came asking, he cried persecution. The drama thickened as Yoko stepped in. On 27th May 2025, Wontumi was arrested under circumstances described by some as Rambo style. Armed men, masked agents, sirens slicing the air. The arrest stunned the nation. NPP loyalists shouted. Social media exploded. But in the chaos, a quieter voice began to emerge. The voice of the ordinary Ghanaian saying, "Enough." Because behind the smoke of party politics lies a country broken by those who feed on its weaknesses. Wontumi's arrest was not just about a man. It symbolized a shift, a reckoning. And as expected, the moment he landed in EOCO custody, the next scene was a hospital bed. His lawyer came forward, citing health issues. But we've seen this play before. Politicians who mock the poor suddenly become weak when the law turns its gaze. His followers posted photos, pleaded for mercy, painted him as a victim. But outside those digital walls, mothers still fetch brown water, farmers still plant on dying soil, and youths still wander jobless. Who cries for them? As the story unfolded, another allegation caught fire. 50 million Ghana cedis, this time from Cocobod. A payment that has no clear explanation. Once again, a government institution entrusted public funds. Once again, Wontumi's name was found lurking in shadows. NIB agents raided his residence in connection with this payment. A growing pattern of financial abuse, betrayal, and corruption formed. How could this be explained away as politics? At what point does the excuse of persecution collapse under the weight of evidence? Supporters of the NPP scrambled to protect the party image. Some distanced themselves, others doubled down, calling it a witch hunt. But internally, cracks were forming. Those who had once cheered him on now whispered behind closed doors. For them, Wontumi had become a liability.
Shouldn't be dealing with. Who is he?
He's a chairman of the MP.
Jesus Christ of Nazareth. Wontumi.
A strong
I was
businessman
in Red College with Wontumi, and I'm very surprised that yesterday he feigned sickness. It is becoming one too many.
No, but he's sick.
This is modus operandi. The last time he was invited to Mansia Palace, you know he feigned the same sickness.
What do you mean by he fainted?
Oh, he wasn't sick. He went and got some Photoshop people to snap a picture where he was lying on the bed and threw it into the system that he was sick. Only yesterday, he was on radio speaking loudly on top of his voice. Ghana for Musorio, Ghana for Musorio. Didn't you hear that?
A symbol of what happens when political power feeds too long on public silence. He was not a martyr, he was a mirror, and the reflection was uncomfortable. Civil society groups, once cautious, found their voice. Environmental activists reminded Ghanaians of the poisoned rivers. Economists lamented the maize scandal. Farmers shook their heads. He was supposed to help us, they said, but he helped himself. Political analysts pointed out the obvious. This was not about Mahama. This was not about elections. This was about truth. The kind of truth Ghana must embrace if it dreams of a brighter future. What now? The investigations continue. Yoko wants answers. Exim Bank wants accountability. The courts want evidence. The people want justice. And Wontumi wants pity. But pity is not given when a man refuses to give accountability. He speaks of fairness now. He wants understanding. But where was that understanding when he laughed at the pain of others? When he insulted Mahama's marriage? When he ridiculed families living on less than 5 cedis a day? Ghana AI News will continue to monitor every detail. We will not be distracted by hospital theatrics or political noise. This story is not about vengeance. It is about justice. It is about breaking the curse of impunity. And if Ghana must rise, the old gods of arrogance must fall. Let this be the lesson. Power is not eternal. And when the tide turns, it washes everything. Even the kings must kneel. Subscribe to Ghana AI News. Drop your location in the comments. Is Wontumi a victim or a villain? Let your voice be heard, because Ghana belongs to all of us, and the days of silence are over.